Okay, so it's my turn. Hi, everybody. My name is Kostas. My origin is from Greece, from Athens, and I came in Finland in 2000. So I live in Finland, let's say, 21 years now. I have a master's degree in sociology and psychology from the Fifth University of Paris, and I started at that service in 2006. A year before, they started already as a project, the men's line. It's a service that the immigrant men that have used violence or they are afraid to use violence can come and have a process with us. The aim of the service is to stop the violence, and let's say that we treat our service, the Lyömätön, Linja, Espoossa, and as a part of it, the men's line treats only with men that use violence. I mean that's the main point and the specificity of our services. Okay, I suppose that I can share the screen now with my presentation. Is it like this? Yes. And then like this. Can you see the whole screen?
No, not yet. We can see the central slide and the slides on the side.
Okay. We'll try the other way then. How about now? Is it okay?
Yes, that was perfect. Thank you.
Okay, that's the title of this workshop. So, cultural and gender sensitive approach in the work with immigrant perpetration in Finland since 2005, and I will go to the next dia. So, Georg Simmel, a German philosopher and sociologist, said that the stranger is no longer the guest who arrives today and lives tomorrow, but it's the person who's moving in today and settling down permanently tomorrow. I changed the term. I mean, the initial term that I put there was the alien is no longer the guest, but I suppose that the stranger is a more easy term to consider that. Okay, I can say you that, I mean, during the presentation, you are going to see a lot about stereotypes and prejudices. So I will start with that. And question is, what does human identity mean? And or maybe can I say that in what manner we construct the human identity? So we have two identities. Let's say the social identity and the personal identity. Let's start with the personal identity. It's the more clear, I suppose, that everyone has personal traits, and each person is unique and in a different relation to other members of the group. From the other side, we have the social identity. It means that a man, in that case, or a human in general, belongs to many different groups: gender, generation, profession, nationality, language, and things like this. Religion also. And then of all the groups in which a person belongs, his social identity is formed during the whole life. And the different dimensions of social identity tell us what we have in common with others, and a strong sense of belonging somewhere from the other side. Okay, and actually, in interaction, I mean, the ideal relationship between social and personal identity is different in different cultures. Let's say, I suppose that you know already that the social identity is very strong in traditional cultures. From the other side, the Western culture is based, let's say, for a great part in the personal identity that all we have. Okay, we have two terms then. We have the community and the individuality. So the community means that we are highlighting some dimensions of social identity, for example, gender, age, level of education, and things like this. From the other side, the individual system, we can notice that the human uniqueness comes out more strongly. Okay, interacting with an unknown person, we're trying to form some notion based on the social identity, and then we try to categorize people to groups, categories, let's say boxes like this. And we have preconceptions about classifications, and these preconceptions are called stereotypes. And I go to the next dia. What exactly is stereotype? It's a general preconception about another based on a person's social identity. I mean, and actually we can act by default when you only know which group you belong to. You know how to react and how to interact via this social identity. And stereotype is an image, not more. I mean, and stereotype can be positive or negative. Let's say, for example, if we are thinking about an Italian man, we're going to say that, okay, Italians are handsome guys and always well dressed. For example, it's a positive aspect of the stereotype. And I suppose from my own country, I can take another stereotype that is likely more negative. Till the crisis, in the economical crisis in 2015, I had a lot of people here, for example, in Finland, say that Greeks are lazy. But it doesn't matter anyway, because it's just an image. From the other side, we have the prejudice, and this is the natural consequence of stereotypes. And that includes a strong attitude, a negative and emotional attitude. That's the difference between stereotypes and prejudices. And also, prejudice includes behavioral tendencies. We are acting based on prejudices. And these are always negative. Okay, and normally in interaction situation, everyone's overall identity is negotiated. We're trying to form, to have a base in the communication. So normally, with a constant interaction between different parties, this should eliminate stereotypes and prejudice. But in practice, it doesn't work like this. It doesn't always happen like this. Each party chooses any way at any time which identity is going to put on in this interaction situation. Some stick to their own social identity, and then others more easily tell more about their own personal life and their own personal identity. And it depends a lot about what kind of identity comes up in everyday life, in interaction situations. A man or a woman, I'm talking as a father or a mother, I'm a professional, or maybe the customer will come in interaction from another point of view. I'm a Finnish or move to Finland, and that's a basis to this kind of interaction. So, and then actually about stereotypes and prejudices, I'm talking that from both sides. We are talking about professionals here, but we are talking also about immigrant clients. So let's say, from the point of view of a professional, can I personally identify preconceptions that exist in my manners to act and to speak? Or is it possible to meet customers as a professional? And can I use my own personal identity during a meeting with a client? From the other side, when I'm thinking about our clients, maybe it will be okay and good to reveal somehow a small part of my personal identity, not always my social identity. And then actually, should I act or perform in front of professionals as a member of my cultural group or as a unique individual? These are, in my opinion, big questions in that that process. Okay, a little bit about the experiences of men's line clients. Okay, we don't have typical, culturally typical customers. I mean, since 2005, we have clients from 78 different countries at men's line service. And then we can say that the cultural environment has an impact when we're thinking about the violent behavior in the family or in a close relationship. And as a rule, both the level of status of customers and their employment situations are good. I mean that. And in violent behavior, when we pass to talk about that, because it takes some time with immigrant clients, we have the same similar characteristic with, let's say, in comparison with Finnish clients. And I have to say that men's line service, let's say, 80% of our customers are immigrants who have married with a Finnish woman, and 20% are immigrants that live in a, how can I say that, in a multicultural family. I mean, their spouses are also immigrants. Okay, go to the next slide. We have noticed since 2005 this kind of specialities when we are working with immigrant perpetrators. The gender roles, the community impact, the perception of violence. Maybe we can discuss a lot about this perception of violence. I mean that, let's say that gender-based violence means something to a Finnish customer. I can say a lot, but they in let's say in traditional cultures, I mean they have another. The notion is a little bit different about that. So at the beginning of our work process, we have to talk a lot about these things, and I am talking about the process that we have here in men's line, and also with Finnish men. That is a long one. Let's say that for a Finnish guy, I mean the whole process will be, let's say, 1 year, a maximum of 1 year and a half. We have individual meetings in the beginning, and then let's say about 3 or 4 months, once a week, and a peer-to-peer support group 15 times. It means 15 weeks. We have individual meetings after the group, and then 6 months after this phase of individual meetings, we have another a final meeting with our client. And when I am thinking about our immigrant clients, I mean it will take, let's say, about 2 years to finish the whole process. And then the experience of our clients of being between two cultures is a main thing too. And then the perception of the family institution, we are talking a lot with them. I mean, is it question of a nuclear family, or is it question of extended family? Actually, the extended family is the norm in other, let's say, in traditional cultures. And then we approach things like this, that what exactly is our customer's perception of the relationship between the worker and the customer. Understanding of gender equality, a lot of discussion about that, and actually the influence of religion we are talking about. As I said already, for the perception of the notion of gender-based violence, exactly is the same thing. I mean, we have different concepts, different cultures about everything. Let's say the gender and the generation are usually in a traditional culture socially agreed positions, I mean, and notions like this. And our customers' experience of past experience of violence is also a main thing that we have to talk about. It depends a lot about when we're talking about these individual meetings. For example, is who's talking? Is the individual or is the member of the community? I'm going back to the social and personal identity. It works like this. I mean, it will be very difficult in the beginning of the work process with an immigrant client for him to recognize and, let's say, to take a responsibility of his act, because he's during the meeting he's talking as a member of the community, so he don't want to stigmatize the whole cultural community. And what's the theme of our discussions? I mean, if an immigrant client can go to other services, for example, let's say to in a bank to have to open an account or to have a credit card, things like this. I mean, the gender there is no doesn't matter. Is the other person there, the woman or a man, but we're talking about gender-based violence. I mean, that's the gender plays a great role here. Is it? We have constated that already that and especially with immigrant clients that that talking with a man, a professional, is more easier to run the whole process like this. And actually, who's he talking to? I mean, that exactly what I'm saying. I mean, the gender plays a great role there. During these years, every time with new immigrant customers here at our service, we have noticed that the whole community plays a great role, has a great impact to these two persons that, let's say, live in a marriage or in a relationship. It's so it brings a kind of security for me, and that's the positive thing. But the pressure when one of the individuals, let's say, had a kind of culturally abnormal behavior, the pressure is very hard from the whole community. We have seen it during these years all the time with all our clients. That's amazing. I mean, to see that, and our task is exactly to take the client, to try to somehow to eliminate this kind of pressure from the cultural community. And these are, I suppose, that you know about that. I mean, the Western culture in the left side, and the traditional, let's say, culture in the other side. This kind of things we have always. Let's say, for example, guilt and honesty. For example, for a Finnish customer here, it's just, he straight away during the first meeting, I can say that he will bring these things up. From the other side, the formal harmony is that our immigrant client wants to talk about and wants to preserve somehow. Okay, I have 2 more slides, so I suppose that it's okay with the time. Power distance, cultural system, perception of time. I will click somehow like this. And I suppose that you know, maybe you know what is the power distance. I mean, Geert Hofstede, a Dutch psychologist, talk about that. And we have, let's say, a big power distance and a small power distance. Okay, like the power distance it means that is a tool to measure the acceptance of an unequal use of power in a certain society. Let's say in modern cultures, the power distance is a small one. In traditional cultures, it's a big one. It means that our immigrant client wants that the professional give him already the solution. From the other side, a Finnish man who comes to our service knows already that the solution is in him somehow. About the traditional and the modern cultural systems, I suppose that you know what this question about, and the perception of time is a very important thing too. I mean, for an immigrant client, customer, the present and the future is always based on the past. Everything that his own culture has developed comes all the time during the whole process. And from the other side, let's say I'm thinking about a Finnish man. I mean, it's the progress is the norm during the work process. I mean, the Finnish man who wants to change himself and not to use violence in his family or relationship knows already that he has to see the future, only the future. About this power distance, I suppose that it means also that the professional has the power, and maybe we have constated already that maybe it's a good thing to use that power that he has to construct a relation that is based on trust. This kind of constatation we have made till now. Okay, let's say that about the interaction. Our customer client, the space is right there. It's right there on the left upper side, and a big power distance perception of time is based on the past, and it comes from a traditional society culture. And from the other side, we have the professional. It's exactly the opposite, but it has to be an interaction. What can we do? I mean, Ludovic, during the morning session, talk about that we can learn from the immigrants somehow. I suppose maybe I can say in another way, maybe we can try to remember or redefine or rethink that even the modern culture base was somehow in the past the community, things like this. So, and from the other side, from our client's point of view, maybe he has to think that, okay, I'm living in Finland now. Maybe I have to somehow try to integrate to the Finnish society, and then I suppose that the kind of approach can happen, and it happens during the process. We have also constated that. And that will be my last slide, and then we can discuss. We have questions. That we have two persons. We have the immigrant in the upper side and the Finn, and on the left side we have spaces. I mean, the immigrant cultural background and the Finnish cultural background. And we have this kind of spaces inside the box. Experienced immigrant background, observed immigrant background, experienced Finnish background, and observed Finnish background. That's my own picture. I mean, I'm an immigrant, and I'm thinking about the Finns. It's the observed immigrant background I'm trying to see in it, and actually I can observe also the Finnish background, and from the other side I can experience also I can see also what type of of thoughts I have about the experience Finnish background. I mean that we have all the time to think of in relation to our cultural backgrounds, our clients' cultural background somehow. If there was a Finn, I suppose that his places were for Finnish professional, the experience Finnish background is the starting point to see all the other spaces. We can discuss about that. I suppose that I use somehow already my time. You can ask some questions, anything you want.